Hi again, it's a bonus episode here. Adrian from the Sofeast team with you, and I'm joined by Renaud, as I often am. But Renaud, where are you in the world today?
in in the south of India, in a big city called Chennai, and been in the country now for 2 weeks. I've been to 4 or 5 factories here in the Ambattur district, where there's a lot of manufacturing going on, and I've gone up to the state that's directly north of Tamil Nadu, and a bit north of Bangalore, in a place called Hubli Dharwat. And I visited, I think, 8 or 9 manufacturing facilities there.
Wow.
And I took some photos, I took some videos. So with permission from some of these manufacturers. Some of them are happy to get some exposure. Some others are a little bit worried. They don't want to maybe teach their competition and so on. All right. So and we'll I think you're working on it, right? We'll publish them soon.
Coming soon on our socials.
Yeah, cool. And so specifically about South India. North India is sort of another. Some people here say it's like another country. I'm not sure it's the case, but I can only speak for South India. Let's say Mumbai and down, basically. And it's not the first time I come here. First time I came here was in 2008. No, sorry, 2008, 2009. I forget. And it. The difference is kind of striking. And, you have, let's say, the old India and the new India, and that's what some people here say. And that's the way I think about it also. So in the old India, you had, patchy roads, and, that were too small and totally congested, and people were really going slow. And how to say, factories were, I don't want to say backward, but maybe a bit less sophisticated than what people are used to when it comes to machinery, in particular. A lot of very manual labor, and factories that were grossly overstaffed, very low efficiency, and so on and so forth. Okay, and factories that were set up by rich people reinvesting, and then like the poor would get poorer and the rich would get richer. That's sort of the and no attention from the government to manufacturing, right? We paid a lot of attention maybe to the farming community and some others I don't really know, but they were not paying a lot of attention to manufacturing. Now, the current government, Prime Minister Modi, has set some policies since, when was that? 2014, 2015. So right about the same time as Made in China, actually. Made in China 2025, right? Which came out in 2015. It's quite different in nature. Made in China 2025 came up with a lot of subsidies for manufacturers to automate further. And here, they set aside some land for new industrial parks. They give some loans, they give some subsidies, but they don't do much more than that. But it's been enough. I can see. I've seen a lot of new development, new industrial areas, a lot of new structures that have come up in the past 4 or 5 years. So obviously it has had an impact, and it's not all in one manufacturing hub. Like maybe at the beginning, China was, a lot about Shenzhen, Dongguan, the Pearl River Delta, right? But here you have a lot of manufacturing in the south, in Chennai, in Bangalore, with a lot of electronics actually that have gone there. You have a lot also in Pune and Mumbai. It's the same general area. It's not very far away. And actually, you have a number of different cities, if you go around, that have their own industrial parks and a lot of local components being made here. And then, of course, when it goes to you go into textile, I did not look at it at all this time, but I did look at it in the past. For example, in the very south, also south of Bangalore, you have an area around Coimbatore and Tirupur, which is very big in knit garments. And in the north is more about woven garments. This is still, I don't think this has really changed much. The clusters are there. But when it comes to plastic, metal, silicon, and so on and so forth, it's really spread out. It's really spread out. All right. So that's a little bit of the landscape. They're trying to upgrade the manufacturing sector. Things don't move at what they call China speed or Shenzhen speed, right? But it's when you have a consistent government policy for, let me see, it's for 7 years or 8 years now in a row, and with the perspective of seeing the current leadership keep going for maybe another 5 years, well, it does change things deeply, and that's what we've seen here. So I was quite pleased with what I saw. Obviously, there's everything. We went. There's some pretty bad operations here, obviously, right? We went to a state-owned company making some motors, and probably nothing has changed in the past 20 years there, or maybe they got worse over time. It was kind of appalling. But then you go to more entrepreneurial companies. We've been to, let me see, 4 or 5 of them that sell to automotive companies, either directly OEM. So here in Chennai, it would be like Hyundai and Kia and some other places. There's some other automotive players, or to tier 1 suppliers of these OEM manufacturers. And I have to say, some of these factories that I've visited are pretty good, and really nothing to nothing to envy to China. Maybe just somewhat less automated, right? Somewhat lower tech, but it doesn't necessarily mean much slower or much more expensive. In some cases, it doesn't make a huge difference, right? And I took a video, for example, of a precision machine, precision mechanical components, small metal parts, basically, that go into automotive sub-assemblies, among others. And they were operating some metal machining equipment that were not CNC controlled, right? But they were controlled with a mechanical cam. Okay, so no investment to pay off, right? Remember, in India, they don't get subsidies for automating, so they have to be quite careful about where they put their money, and that means you don't have to pay for basically the amortization of all that equipment. So. Yeah, basically that's what I've been doing. I've been looking at component suppliers. There's a professor in Monash University in Kuala Lumpur. Actually, he was teaching for a long time in Hong Kong. I've met him a number of times. Neil O'Connor. He's done some research with a few assistants that have done a lot of data mining about press releases and things like that, about companies saying that they shift some of their manufacturing, right? And particularly out of China. And he has found that a lot of electronic manufacturers have either created new facilities there or increased their investment and their capacity in India, and it's big players. When you look at existing factories that increase capacity, you have Samsung, TCL from China, Wistron from contract manufacturer from Taiwan. They're in Bangalore, and some others. When you look at new factories where you have Foxconn, so it's pretty much the same business model and same origin as Wistron. You have Luxshare, which is more or less the same business model, but they are another Apple supplier from mainland China. You have Lenovo, a Chinese company. You have Pegatron, also a little bit like Foxconn and Wistron. You have Asus, etc., etc. You have some, of course, automotive suppliers too, right? But a lot of it is in electronics, and Apple has been pretty clear. In electronics, a lot of people look at what Apple is doing and what they're saying. They've been very clear. They want to diversify their manufacturing away from China. So, some people say now is the time, and I kind of agree. If you want to have a hard look at an alternative to China that is not on the South China Sea, so it's less likely to be engulfed in some big conflict if that ever happens. Well, maybe look at India, right? And
interesting.
Yeah, and there's some general findings. I wrote a little bit on LinkedIn about it, and I got a lot of positive feedback. So that's why let's talk a little bit about this on the podcast. The great thing was, you go there, you meet with the owner. Again, I'm talking about entrepreneurial SMEs from 20 people to maybe 100, 200 people. And you can discuss technical matters with them. They're all engineers, they're all English speakers, at least those, dozen or so manufacturers that are visited. That's what I saw. It's such a big departure from China. Not just China, right? But that's really my main point of comparison here. There's at least 2 or 3 of them where I was like, wow, this is a really nice management system. Well done, guys, right? One of them was really tracking their a lot of data on a daily basis and doing a lot of corrective actions and things like that. So it's a die casting supplier, and they were tracking 10 sources of costs of consumables and so on, every day, and so on. Nice job, right? And not just that, obviously, but they were really hands-on. Top management was really hands-on, and they really knew what was going on. There's another one, plastic injection molding company, and that one we were authorized to make a video about it. The owners were also very involved in the business, in the technical aspects of the business, and they even had an Obeya room, meaning like a war room, where every day people have a quick stand-up meeting, look at bring data, look at what's going on, and try to find solutions to issues, right? And whenever there's an issue, everybody goes there and discusses and get out of here quickly, and get into action, which was great. I seldom see that, and they had done a lot of other things. Again, I'm not saying that this is all of their management systems, but these were symptoms of a well-run company, basically. An interesting thing that came up was that a number of times, maybe at least half of them, when I say, and we work a lot in China, then they say, well, in China, we don't really know how they're doing. The government is really helping them, blah, blah, blah. They're a little bit cheaper if you really do a comparison, and they are faster. So they were a little bit afraid, if you just want to source within, from the cheapest country and the fastest country and so on, maybe you're still better off in China. And one of the reasons is that it's less automated in India. They tend to do more manual work. And also, as you know, China is well known for going fast, maybe sometimes too fast, at the expense of quality. But they are definitely fast, right? So it's a bit unfair to compare anybody else to China in that respect.
That's your report. That's really interesting. And oftentimes, I think people, maybe they see India as a bit of a poor relation to China in terms of somewhere that you can source from and somewhere that you can get your manufacturing or assembly done. But some of the things that you're saying to me shows that, that maybe that attitude needs to change.
Yeah, right. The thing is, China has eaten India's lunch when it comes to manufacturing for international buyers for many years. But now there are geopolitical constraints, right? And we hear a lot about, let's move manufacturing to friendly countries, meaning countries that we won't be in conflict with, or like that would not be under very strong restriction, sanctions, maybe, like Russia. And a lot of people were shocked by China's support of the invasion of Ukraine, right? In the US, maybe not so much. Maybe they were more shocked by the sanctions, and they were like, "Ooh, what if that happens to China?" I think in the US, people already know that there's, it's like an unfriendly country anyway in the eyes of the government. But in Europe is different. A lot of people still see China as kind of a not unfriendly place. Sometimes they see it in a favorable manner, but they definitely see the invasion of Ukraine and bringing the war into Europe as a very, very, very big issue. And they see that China is sort of the ally, supporting Putin's version, and a lot of people have been shocked by that. And now they kind of move China into the same bag as Russia, right? And so we've had a lot of clients saying, "Hey, maybe we should move some of the manufacturing out of China. Maybe it's really time to do a big push on that." So again, now is the time to have a good hard look at India, because there's a lot more component suppliers than before. So maybe you don't need to import so many of the parts, and maybe you can find the price and quality that work for you. So that's the message.
Yeah, that's the key point, isn't it? It's one thing moving assembly, for example, but where are you getting all the components from? If they're still coming from China, then you're not really solving the issue. There's some issues, but not completely. So, yeah, that's really interesting. We are creating a series of blog posts on different Indian suppliers, component suppliers of different types. This could be sort of zinc alloy coating and things like that, even jewelry. So I'll leave the link for that in this the show notes for this little bonus pod that we've done. But thanks for filling us all in on what you've been up to. Really interesting to hear, what the landscape's like in India right now.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks again for listening to this podcast, brought to you by the Sofeast Group. We're on a mission to provide you with everything you need to manufacture effectively in Asia, including inspections, auditing, new product development support, contract manufacturing, 3PL warehousing and fulfillment, and much, much more across Asia's key manufacturing areas. Visit us at sofeast.com, that's SOFEAST.com, to learn more and get help. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please do rate, review and share, because it will really help others discover us too.